Hey everyone, it's no secret that artificial intelligence was the hottest investing trend in 2023. Surprisingly, it's probably going to be the hottest investing trend in 2024 as well. Well, at least the market revenue growth is. The estimate suggests that the AI market is going to grow from around 200 billion in 2023 all the way up to 1 trillion, over 1 trillion by 2030. So that growth in spending, that growth in revenue and profit is going to spur a lot of these stocks up higher. Now, in this video, I'm going to highlight one AI stock you can buy for 2024. So let's get right into it.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.
So the AI stock I'm going to recommend for 2024 in this video is AMD. And AMD says it's uniquely positioned in artificial intelligence. Here's a portfolio of 5 of its products in AI. It's got a data center AI solution. It's got a server leadership server solution. It's got the CPU with integrated AI accelerator, and adaptive SOC plus AI for embedded computing, and AI inference optimized solutions. So it's got 5 different products, at least for now, that it's entering into the AI market, and this is likely to gain some traction. It's expected to gain some traction, even though of course, it's not as good as NVIDIA's products, but still, enterprises and institutions would love to see another competitor rise up to rival NVIDIA. Right now, NVIDIA's lead is so strong in AI that it's making some enterprises uncomfortable. They don't like to rely on one supplier. And so they're going to look to companies like AMD and give them an opportunity to take some market share just to diversify their supplier base. And that's an opportunity for AMD going into 2024. Now, there is no certainty that it's going to capitalize on that opportunity, but the company has done well in the past in making progress against Nvidia in the gaming segment when Nvidia was so far ahead. And AMD made progress there. And so it's reasonable to expect AMD to make some progress against Nvidia going forward, even if it doesn't catch up completely. Now, in its latest quarter, you can see Nvidia's revenue and gross profit jumped a little bit, although not as much as Nvidia has been increasing in the most recent year itself. And AMD's gross profit increased to 2.7 billion, up from 2.44 billion in July of 2023 to September of 2023. That figure was more pronounced if you look back to September of 2022, growing from 2.3 billion in gross profit to 2.7 billion in gross profit, and the gross margin rising from 42% to 47%. Of course, Nvidia's gross profit margins are much better, upwards of 60%, but that's going to be the theme in this video. You're going to hear that a lot, that Nvidia is just ahead of AMD, and for most of its rivals, Nvidia is ahead of all of them. Longer term, AMD has done a good job growing its revenue, right? Increasing from around 7 billion in 2014 all the way up to 22 billion in the most recent trailing 12-month period. This recent dip here that you see is because the demand for electronics and computers came down following the economic reopening, right? People bought a lot of computers and electronics and gaming products in 2020 and 2021 because we were spending more time at home. And then that created a gap of a decrease in demand. Nvidia experienced the same thing, a fall down, a decrease in demand, but the rise in AI really juiced up Nvidia's business. AMD has yet to see that. AMD has yet to see that. So AMD hasn't seen that big increase that Nvidia has seen from demand from AI. Now, it's expected that it will, but it just hasn't just yet. Let me show you that. So here are the expectations for AMD over the next 2 years. You can see 2023 revenue is expected to decrease by 4%, and earnings per share is expected to fall by 24%. So 2023 has been a forgettable year for AMD. But things are expected to improve significantly in 2024 with revenue growth of 16.6% and earnings per share growth of nearly 41%. Right? So those are the growth numbers that I'm attracted to, and one of the reasons why I'm recommending AMD as an AI stock for 2024. And that's expected to continue in 2025 with 17.4% revenue growth and 35.9% earnings per share growth. So AMD's prospects over the next 2 years are excellent, with more than double-digit revenue growth and close to 40% earnings per share growth for 2 consecutive years. So it has yet to experience that boom, but analysts expect AMD to experience the boom over the next 2 years. And we could see this with its cash flow from operations over the trailing 12 months as well. It had done a good job of increasing this number, but then the decrease in demand in 2023, which led to the decreasing revenue, has also led this metric to fall. But again, this is likely to increase going into 2024 as its revenue rebounds, as its profitability rebounds, as its inventory starts to work through the system and demand increases. Its balance sheet is relatively solid. AMD has $5.78 billion in cash and short-term investments and $2.46 billion in debt. That means the company can pay off all its debt and it can still have over $3 billion in cash. So a strong balance sheet, and this is one of the things I like about AMD stock. And you can look at the big difference in AMD's operating profit margin versus NVIDIA. I've talked about it several times already how NVIDIA is way ahead. And you could see here it's been ahead for the last decade. But right now is the biggest gap that there's ever been between NVIDIA's operating profit margin and AMD's operating profit margin. You can see both of them experiencing this decline, right, for the same factors I've mentioned already. But NVIDIA has already experienced that boom, the rebound, while AMD not yet. Now, expectations suggest it will experience an increase, although it might not be as pronounced as NVIDIA's. But expectations are that it rebounds and it jumps higher here in terms of operating profitability. I suspect it will grow to the close to the 20% range, more likely in the double-digit 10 to 16% range over the next year or two, over the next 2 years, more likely, but not yet. And that's not for sure. These are expectations, and expectations don't always come to fruition. That's something to keep in mind here. And finally, valuation is reasonable. AMD is trading at a forward price to earnings of 36.71, which is, it's not cheap, but it's reasonable considering that AMD is expected to grow earnings per share at 41% next year and 36% the year after that. I don't mind paying a forward price to earnings ratio that's at or below the expected earnings per share growth rate for the next 2 years, right? The next year is already incorporated in this valuation, but the second year growth rate, if it's similar to this price to earnings ratio, then I see that as a reasonable valuation. And given that the AI market is expected to jump by nearly 5x over the next 7 years, I think AMD's prospects are pretty good over that time period. So I think this is a good stock, a good AI stock to buy for 2024. Of course, you might be wondering, well, if you said NVIDIA is so much better, why don't I buy NVIDIA instead? You could. I often say NVIDIA is better than AMD. So if you prefer NVIDIA, or if you're choosing between NVIDIA and AMD, I do think NVIDIA is the better option. If you liked the video you just saw and you want to see more just like it, please subscribe to the channel. I can't keep this channel free without the support of viewers like you. And if you're already subscribed, thank you, and I appreciate your support.